We are back, joining you after a rough loss. I'm going to call it a rough loss
Fair.
to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jays and Confused podcast. My name's Jeremiah Broderick. This is Matt Mislinski joining me as always. What happened in that fourth quarter? It seemed like we were up. Jalen was in control of the game.
Yep.
Then it just all fell apart in like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, so here's my hot take, and this is an NBA theory that I think might gain some traction. Turns out when you shoot 14% from the field for the first 10 minutes of a fourth quarter, your odds of winning that game are not high. So I'm going to attribute it mostly to that. I think we missed some defensive rotation. Derek White was out of position a few times, which is rare from him.
I didn't know that was physically possible. I
That's
thought Derek White.
This was a first for me, but I think that just goes to show how discombobulated we were in that fourth quarter. But like, it wasn't a bad quarter on one end of the floor. We were forcing turnovers. We got a couple nice steals. We were moving in transition, and there was just a lid on the basket. There was one play where it was like layup at the rim, missed. Okay, Luka Garza got the rebound, put back from 2 feet away, missed. It's fine. He got it again, put back, missed. And that was kind of the story of that quarter. There were some questionable shots, a couple like 30-foot threes were launched, but for the most part, they were good shots and we just couldn't get them to go.
So normally on this podcast, I've been the guy who comes on and is like, this loss isn't a big deal. We got cold from three. We'll revert back to the mean. I think this was the first loss we've had in a while that actually kind of shows issues with this team. Because in the past, when we've missed good shots down the stretch, we've out-rebounded the other team by so much and not turned the ball over that we're able to just win the possession battle by so much that even if, they shoot slightly better on average in a certain game, we're still going to win.
Yeah.
This game, they were just way more physical than us on the boards. They were grabbing rebounds. Their defense was substantially better than ours. They didn't have the offensive talent we did. There's no like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum on that team. But they were just able to make it so hard on us, possession after possession, that I feel like we wore down. And I think the boards was the biggest thing because once we get into a playoff series, I just don't know that our bigs are going to be able to dominate like they have the last few weeks against like the Grizzlies who didn't play a center or the Warriors who only played Kristaps Porzingis. So I think this is the first like bad loss we've had in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it on our bigs as much, just because, again, like the story of how our rebounding came alive from like the storyline at the beginning of the year is the Celtics have the weakest front court in the NBA, our big man rotation, blah, blah, blah. And we started playing small ball five more often, like or in the first half of the season. But we've become like a very, and I've said this over and over again, like we're a very solid fundamental like team rebounding team where you're getting 4 or 5 rebounds a night from Derek White, from Peyton Pritchard. You're getting 7 from Jaylen Brown. Since Tatum has come back, he's kind of been a double-double machine where I'm chalking him up for around 10 rebounds. So I think we've seen a little bit of a drop-off in Baylor Shireman, who was like a monster rebounder for a couple weeks.
It's not even that I'm expecting them to go out and get a bunch more rebounds. I mean, Keita had 10. Garza had 6. That's not like that's a little below their averages, but not too much. It's more that they're not able to box out the other team's guys.
Yeah.
Like, Rudy Gobert was just able to move Garza and grab rebounds. He had 14. Naz Reid was just able to, like, elbow, boom, Garza's out of the way. Like, those guys' responsibility is less to always get 10 rebounds and more to be able to put a body on their man. And it seems like when we go up against these more elite big man rotations, they're not really able to get a body. Like, I can see second round of the playoffs, we're going to go up against the Knicks, and is Garza going to be able to box out Mitchell Robinson in a fourth quarter? I don't know that he is.
Yeah, I think that's something that Again, it's something that I was keeping track of the past few weeks. Anytime we played, like the last time we played Detroit, I remember when we played Houston in that game where we absolutely destroyed them. I was looking and we whooped them on the boards, and they're a very big team without Steven Adams, obviously. But yeah, I've been keeping track of these games where we're playing the bigger centers, the more physical centers, where we definitely struggled to start the year. I remember playing Utah. And feeling like, damn, Kyle Filipowski's really about to kill us. So I think the team rebounding has come a long way, and we're getting contributions from a lot of guys. The physicality of, I also think it's different types of rebounds. Like, there are teams that we play that have more physical bigs, but also have a lot of jump shooters. So you're getting more like long rebounds off the rim, which is, I think, where we kind of thrive, where guys like, Derek White, but also Ugo, Baylor, like they will scrap and go get a ball that flies 5, 10 feet off the rim. And tonight, I think Minnesota did a good job, like playing at the rim, and that's how they were able to get a lot of their rebounds because we weren't like the ball wasn't coming off the rim very far, and we weren't necessarily in great position to box out. I think that's something that we just haven't had to do that much this season. Like we've still been out rebounding. It feels like the last few months we've out rebounded almost every team we've faced without having, like a dominant paint presence, a dominant like rebounder, a guy who can box out consistently anybody on any given night. So yeah, I think going into the playoffs again, you got Mitchell Robinson, we've got Jalen Duren over in Detroit. Like Atlanta has some big bodies. I'm cautiously optimistic, and Jared Allen's been playing great in Cleveland, but again, it's gonna need to be more of a concerted effort on boxing out, and that I'm mildly concerned about.
And I'm not even saying that it won't work in the playoffs. Our current strategy, where we have like the wings crash from the corners and the big man box out, and kind of getting more offensive rebounds to make up for some of the defensive rebounds.
Yeah.
But I think if there's an Achilles heel of this team, and if there's like one stat this year that could be fool's gold, I think it's the rebounding numbers. Because if you just look at this team on paper, you wouldn't think we should be out rebounding the Rockets in any universe. But we have so far. And it would be awesome if that continued. And Baylor Shireman is just like a beast on the boards.
Yeah.
But I think if we look back at the end of the playoffs and we've lost a disappointing series, it's gonna be one of the things we look at. Would Vooch help at all?
Yeah, so I'm still processing the fact that you just threw our Achilles heel in there. I think that's a cheap shot. No, I mean, I think Vucevic would help because not only is he, I think we're gonna have a discussion about Luka Garza versus Nikola Vucevic, especially as Vuce is coming back and working his way back into the rotation just in time for the playoffs. I think he's a more physical guy in general under the rim, where Luka Garza is long and like fairly athletic, not in like a run and jump and dunk kind of a way, but just like he's able to fight guys for rebounds, but he's not as good as Vucevic when it comes to fighting guys for positioning. And I think Vucevic just has a lot more experience and just has like a different game style and a different body type where he emphasizes that a little bit more, where he can put, his back to somebody and just like control that paint area for rebounds. He's also like, he is, I think, one of the active NBA leaders in double doubles.
Yeah.
So like, if we have a guy come back who's suddenly like chalk him up for 10 rebounds every game, while being a more imposing defensive rebounder, especially to not give up those second chance point opportunities, I think that will be helpful. How well he comes back, whether he's like immediately just kind of reintegrated, because there were still some like kinks that we were working out with him before he got hurt, where like how does he fit into our play style, how does he fit into our offense, where are we getting him the ball, all that stuff I think remains to be seen how that plays out.
So I got two things on Vooch. One, I think celebration-wise, there's just a huge opportunity when he comes back.
Okay.
Because remember, Tatum broke his wrist, and Baylor had him do the hold your wrist when you make a shot with it. To be like, I broke my wrist, and I still hit a three on you.
Yeah.
Then Baylor broke his thumb.
And he had
he has the thumbs up. Vooch broke his middle finger.
Yeah. So you're saying the NBA is about to fine us every single game?
I don't think the NBA can fine him. because we've had multiple celebrations so far
Yeah.
where we've shown that if you break something on your shooting hand, that's your celebration. And I think if we just explain that to Adam Silver now,
Mm-hmm.
then we won't get fined
He's a
when
very
Vooch starts
understanding
flipping up the
guy.
bench. Yeah.
Very lenient
Um,
commissioner.
I think when he comes back, listen, he's definitely the most accomplished big man on this team. He's at his peak, would have started for this team. He's had like a great career. He's one of the top points guys from his draft. He's surprisingly high up there on the all-time scoring list. The amount of activity, you said he's more physical under the rim than Garza. I think he has a larger body than Garza, and that's definitely useful. Garza is just so much more active under the rim. And even when he's not getting rebounds, he's creating new possessions because there's 3 tips
Yeah.
and the other team tips it. He probably leads the league in like getting the other team to tip it out of bounds because he's just fighting so hard for it. And there's just also, you give up things with Vooch where he's just not as good at sliding his feet. He requires a couple post touches a game, which have not been efficient for 2-3 years now. He definitely brings like a size to him, and I can see in certain matchups that working. But I think overall, if I'm looking for a guy to play the position of backup center, come in and play 16 minutes a game in a playoff rotation and just bring energy off the bench, I would go Garza over Vooch in most of those matchups.
Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned like sliding his feet, and the metaphor that comes to mind for me when I think about Garza's approach to being an NBA center versus Vucevic is I think Vucevic is a wall, like he's a brick wall, and Luka Garza's a tree. Where like he's a little bit more wavy, like his arms are doing more. Vucevic is just kind of
Neither
like,
one moves. They're both.
I mean, Garza, his upper body, you were saying, is very
Oh, yeah.
active. Where, like, again, he's not as strong as some of these dominant centers that we play, but he will be reaching over them. He'll be trying to, like, get the positioning a lot through, like, his arms and his shoulders. A lot of the tip outs, he'll tip it out to other guys, he'll tip it to himself. Vucevic is much more like, I'm going to plant myself, and you're not going to get past me. But if the rebound doesn't come to me, I'm not going to be able to adjust as quickly as somebody like Luka Garza, who just is a little bit more agile. I think they both provide value. And I think we'll see, obviously, depending how far we go into the playoffs and what matchups we see, I think we'll see that there might be like a series to series change in who gets more of those backup center minutes, depending on kind of what we need from them and how that matchup is going. I like having the option of both of them. I think the versatility. Also, this is something I was going to comment on because we haven't recorded. We've also got the Warriors game and the Grizzlies game that happened since our last episode, and the Grizzlies game in particular. Derek White I was very impressed with his aggressiveness in the fourth quarter, and he helped us win that game. His chemistry with Luka Garza in that fourth quarter was also really, really good. And so I think that's something to consider. And I know that when we first traded for Vucevic, that was something that I was like, Derek White really likes passing to Nikola Vucevic. It seems like he's also built a very strong connection with Garza. And so I think when it comes to, again...
Could it be that Derek White's good at basketball?
I think Derek White is
Could
pretty
that
good at
be-
basketball. That's my other basketball hot take for the day.
Yeah.
Outside of you have to shoot well in the fourth quarter to win. But yeah.
Can we talk a little Derek White? Because I think there's an interesting thing going on with him where in the Grizzlies game and in the Timberwolves game tonight, we've had some longer stretches of him being the only real offensive option on the court.
Yeah.
Where Joe will put him out there with no Tatum, Brown, or Pritchard and just say, like, it's your responsibility to score. And I know Scal was saying on the broadcast that Joe was doing it to try to force White into being aggressive.
Yeah.
It's worked. Like, Derek White looks good when he's aggressive. I just think if there's a guy on this team I want to see being kind of forced into a position where he has to figure it out and take shots, it's Jason Tatum. Because Derek White, I know he can be impactful in any position he's in on the court. Like, if he's being aggressive, he's impactful. If he's in the corner, he'll find a way to be impactful with or without the ball. no matter who's out there with him. It's not the worst idea to try to get him into more of an offensive groove, but it also forces Tatum to spend 3 quarters with Jaylen Brown at the same time.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum's in the corner more. So I think trying to integrate him would be my priority over trying to get Derek White to take more shots.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting, and it's something that I've noted during the season before Jason Tatum came back, where I was like, this was supposed to be Derek White's year of like, hey, let's make a push for All-Star, and then he just struggled with his shooting.
If this was the first month of the season, I think this would be a great idea.
Yeah.
It just seems weirdly timed.
Yeah, I think it also, my takeaway from like the pre-Tatum return months that we played this season was that Derek White doesn't necessarily like, he can be aggressive, but the fact that Joe Mazzulla had to force him, like, hey, you're in charge, you have to be aggressive, it doesn't seem like that's his instinct. He's always going to make the right plays. He's incredibly dependable on both ends of the floor, but it doesn't seem like he has like an innate drive to like score the most points or to lead the offense. And it seems like he's been very comfortable being the setup guy for guys who are better, you know, shot creators than him. That's not taking anything away from his ability to be that shot creator. But I think now that we have Jason Tatum back and we're ramping up for this playoff push, like I do agree with you. We should be prioritizing like, hey, let's make sure that Tatum in as much of a rhythm as possible. Because again, you know Derek White is going to go out there and give 110% every night, and you know that he's going to be, you know, not always incredibly efficient. Like he has his off nights. This whole season, his 3-point shooting hasn't been what it's been in the past. But you know, in that Grizzlies game, in tonight's game, the first few minutes of the fourth quarter, like his shots were the only ones falling. By the time that the fourth quarter ended, like he might have made 50% of our 5 or 6 shots that fell in that quarter.
It was 5 shots.
Yeah.
Don't overestimate us and say we got 6 shots in a quarter.
Let me real quick, just before we move on from this, I'm sorry it took us so long to get to this, guys. Big takeaway from this game tonight. Max Shulga's first NBA points. How about that?
Yeah.
There it is. One of those 5 baskets in that fourth quarter.
We could not have moved on. We can't get through the first 20 minutes
where credit is due.
Pod without talking Max Shulga. We've barely talked about him this season.
Yeah.
I think we've definitely spent more minutes talking about Max Shulga than Max Shulga has NBA points. But I think we've spent at least 20 minutes talking about him, so I think it's like tenfold the minutes to points ratio on Max Shulga.
Listen, Max Shulga scored more than 20% of our points in that fourth quarter, so I think it's worth discussing. I think it's worth bringing up. Yeah, that's all I wanted to. He got 4 points. Scored a basket, hit 2 free throws, got a game ball for his first NBA points.
He looked good out there. He knows how to move on a basketball
court. Is this in
it's
any way relevant to the rest of the Celtics season? No, but you know.
No, thanks for throwing that in there. Back to the kind of Derek White minutes discussion, because I think tonight we saw it affect Jason Tatum in a weird way, where the first 3 or 4 games Jason Tatum was back, it was very much like, hey, feel it out, man. Like, you're coming back, do your thing, kind of whatever works for you, do that. Then I think in the Grizzlies game, he kind of had his first stinker of a game. He went 3 for 15, really having trouble hitting a shot, which is to be expected when you come back from an injury like that and you spend so much time off. You're not going to be as efficient as you were. And he's going to have a few stinkers before he's back to full health. So I think it was surprising that it took that long for him to have one. But it seemed like that might have shaken him a little bit. Because in this game, he was just in the corner for the first half and then a little bit. And then he had 3 or 4 nice possessions in a row. And then in the fourth, we were like, all right, close the game for us. Which I don't feel like we can, bring him. His involvement in the offense is just shooting up and down and all over the place. And I'm not saying every game needs to be like Jason Tatum, feel it out, take as many shots as you want.
Yeah.
But I think there should be some sort of bit more defined of a role for him. And also Jaylen Brown just needs to close these games. At this point, down the stretch, I'm not usually like a down the stretch, just give the ball to X guy and get out of the way. But for this team right now, it's got to be Jaylen Brown who's closing.
Yeah, I think I was surprised by how long Joe waited in that fourth quarter to put Jalen and Jason back in. Again, we were 5 or 6 minutes of that fourth quarter. We were scoreless. Minnesota went on a 16 to nothing run in those minutes. So at that point, it's like once they came back in, it was kind of too late. I think it's a very valid point about Jason Tatum's involvement and him finding his rhythm. It feels almost like he came back from the Achilles and everything way better than some people were expecting. And they were like, okay, so he's kind of good. Where in those first few games, it was like, we're just going to keep giving you the ball, like, do your thing, feel it out. Like, yeah, we're still competing for playoff positioning or whatever, but the important thing is that you feel comfortable, you reestablish yourself, you find your rhythm, all of that. And then he, was scoring 20 plus points a game, getting 10 plus rebounds, a bunch of assists in there, and they were like, "Oh, Jason Tatum's back, like he's good. We don't need to do that for him anymore." And I think that was premature. I think he still needs, like, whether it's just like lineups where it's like, no, 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 what Missoula is doing with Derek White, like we should just be doing with Jason Tatum more frequently, of like whether it's the fourth quarter or like the second quarter or whatever.
Even
Jason, go out there with the bench and just like, it's your show, run it.
even against tanking teams, we haven't seen any Tatum plus bench lineups.
Yeah.
And that was a staple of the last 5 years of Celtics basketball, was just throw Tatum and the bench out there
And those lineups killed.
watch him cook.
Yeah.
Those lineups were great. Should we have the Sam Hauser conversation? Because I feel like this also affects Sam.
Yeah, let's have the Sam Hauser conversation.
I've been putting this off for a while now. And I've been a defender of Sam this year.
Yeah.
Good old Sammy boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I will still always defend Sam Hauser from being in a shooting slump. Like, when he's missing, keep shooting.
That was the first few weeks of the season, was you defending Sam Hauser
Sam
me
Hauser.
Mostly for being in a shooting slump. Yeah.
He stopped shooting is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the last time Sam Hauser made a three?
2 weeks ago?
It was against the Warriors.
Okay.
So it's been a few games. He had 2 points tonight, 0 points against the Grizzlies, 6 points against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Since our last episode. And I feel like he's deferring a lot more. Where I know he's a catch and shoot guy, so he's not always creating his shots, but usually he is aggressively looking for those opportunities.
Yes.
Where he'll set a screen, duck off, run back, set a screen, run around a guy. Like, he'll always be cutting. And lately he's just been sitting in the corner hoping. And I think having him out there with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and one of the two guards, he's just going like, okay, I am the fifth option in this lineup.
Yeah.
I'm just going to chill for a bit. Where when he was coming off the bench, it was like, okay, let me see how I can get a three the fastest.
Yeah.
And he's much more effective in that role, where he's being like very aggressive towards finding an open three. And we really haven't seen that version of Sam Hauser since he's been starting.
Yeah, I think that has been like one of the things that I've had, like, not a love-hate relationship, because like I love Sam Hauser and I think we're very fortunate to have that kind of sharpshooter on our team. But the games where he's the biggest difference maker, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad, is when he takes 8 or 9 threes in the game and all of them are like coming off a screen, he gets the ball and he's immediately up. Sometimes he's launching at angles, his body is still moving sideways, but like he's always been very confident in that, which I think inspires confidence in everybody else, especially considering how good he is at it. And it lately, I think you're right, he's kind of parked himself. And he is like the most effective. I don't know if this is the exact comparison because I think they run a different offense, but like Steph Curry is just like constantly running around the floor, waiting to get the ball back, knowing if he gets it back and has this much space, he's going up. And when Sam Hauser is at his most effective, that's kind of what he does. Like he doesn't stop moving until the ball hits his hands and he's up with it right away. He's also like pretty reliable, where like he can reset if their defense like holds up during a possession and it kicks out to Sam Hauser, like he can pause and take a breath and analyze the floor. He's not a playmaker by any means, but right now there's no movement to get him involved in the offense. I don't know. like the more I'm reflecting on as we're getting closer to the playoffs and talking about our potential like weaknesses and everything like that, our offense feels clunkier now than it did a month ago. Which like Vucevic went down, we got Jason Tatum back, and like talent wise, I think our offense is just as good or better than it was a month ago. It just seems like more guys are not being asked to play to their strengths right now. Where it's like, actually, Derek White's going to be the scorer now. Jason Tatum, you're going to be a corner guy. Sam Hauser, don't move. And none of those things bode well for us in the playoffs.
Well, theoretically, Sam Hauser should be great when he's out there with our best players because he's able to move the defense without the ball in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up Steph Curry, but like I think like a JJ Redick or a Kyle
Yeah.
Korver, like a guy who just runs around and could shoot at any time, should be what we're kind of going for with him. But lately he's just been like very stagnant, and I do feel like when he was coming off the bench, there was like a lot more aggressiveness in his cuts.
I think the cutting in general, like that's something that
How much of this did you feel before this game?
I mean, this
Just so we
game,
don't get too negative,
yeah,
because
this
I
game
do
was a
think,
little demoralizing, and I'm wondering if it's affecting our outlook
yeah,
too much. But like, I think you made some points earlier on when you were like, no, this game felt like it wasn't just like, oh, we had an off night, whatever. We had an off night against the Grizzlies. Our shooting percentages were trash, but we pulled
yeah.
out a win, so we didn't
We
like
had like
ruminate on it too
one
much.
5 minute stretch in the fourth quarter that saved us.
Yeah, and that was like mostly Derek White and Luka Garza. But no, I think it's less about just this game impacting it and more like the playoffs are no longer approaching, like they are around the corner. We have a little over 10 games left. The positioning fight in the East is getting tighter. You can kind of hear New York creeping up on us for that 2 seed, and it's getting a little bit more real, and I think the urgency is starting to sink in of like, oh no, we need like to know what our offense is going to look like. And that's tough because it's looked a lot of ways this season. And, you know, this is the first team maybe ever that has gotten a Jason Tatum caliber player back with a month to go. And so, like, our offense is just very in flux right now. And you would hope that, especially considering the longevity that this team has, especially with those top guys, like Pritchard and White and Tatum and Brown, like they've been playing together for over 3 or 4 years now. And Hauser in that group as well. So it's tough to be like, yeah, it kind of seems like they don't exactly know what everybody should be doing at all times right now. I think, again, one of the strengths of this team is our depth off the bench, all our young wings. Like, we have guys who can essentially, like, plug them in and play them, and they will do what is needed to win. But it's like those top five guys that we really need to like know what the game plan is for them in order to kind of plan out how we're going to be successful against teams in the playoffs. And it's tough when like if you ask, you know, Jason Tatum or Derek White or Sam Hauser night to night, like what did you feel like your job was tonight? And they have different answers almost every night. I think it's difficult to like build a rhythm and build continuity in our offense that you can go back to reliably where like if we get to the playoffs and it's like, yeah, Jalen, the fourth quarter is yours, take over, and Sam Hauser is standing still, and Jason Tatum is a corner shooter, and you know Derek White is like, how aggressive am I being today? It's not the best recipe for some really good ingredients that we have.
Yeah, I didn't mean to completely bum you out with my description of this game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think there's two things there. I think one is just the Jason Tatum part of it,
Yeah.
where you could see it breaking a lot of different ways at this point. Where, because the stretches where Jason Tatum's been good for us, he's been phenomenal. Like, there was a point towards the end of the third quarter tonight where he was just, like, looked automatic from three, was getting by guys, the scoop layup was going. And if he can get a little bit more consistent into getting into that zone, that's going to be huge for us. And I think there is an element to, if we don't know the plan, then other teams don't know the plan.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a tough team to game plan against.
Yeah.
If we don't know who's closing the game, they don't know who's closing the game. And I know that's not the most reassuring thing. The other thing is, I think this is a very ISO heavy team.
Yeah.
Like it has been all year. It was in 2024 when we won the championship. And a lot of it is going to be finding the weak link on the opposing team and picking on it. I think it was insane tonight that we didn't pick on Bones Highland at all. Cuz
Bones
that's the
Highland was
thing with
picking on
Bones
us all
Highland.
night long.
He's a very good offensive player. He's
Yeah.
always been a great offensive player. But the reason he doesn't stick on teams is because you can isolate him and just go at him on the other end and make up the difference and then some. And just never seeing like Jaylen Brown try to ISO on Bones Highland tonight was kind of insane to me. That we're just like letting him kill us on one end and then not taking the free points on the other. So I think if this was a playoff series, those would be kind of the matchups. We would just be like screen, screen, screen till we get the matchup we want, go at it, and then play out of that.
Yeah, I will also be the first to say, like, I'm not always the biggest fan of, like, I don't love isolation offense. I think the personnel we have, it makes a lot of sense. I also think, like, this Celtics team has ranked consistently near or at the bottom in assists all year. Tonight was another game. We had 17 assists all night, and some of those were coming from Max Shulga. But when the Celtics have been really grooving, it's when they're getting 24 plus assists a game because the ball is flowing very freely. It is more cutting, more off ball movement. It's Sam Hauser flying around screens and pass straight into a shot. It's Ugo or earlier Jordan Walsh or sometimes Baylor Shireman or Derek White or Keita just like cutting backdoor, finding like pick and roll openings. And we have the ability to play that style very well. We have the personnel for it. We just also happen to have like Peyton Pritchard's been the most efficient ISO player in the league this year. Jaylen Brown obviously has taken it to a new level with his isolation scoring this year. And Jason Tatum has proven in the past that he's a killer at that as well. I think there's ways to incorporate more of that. Again, we're not always going to face a team where it was as glaring as it was today. Like, not every team has a weak link that you can just pick on night after night. I think we should have picked a little bit on Bones Highland, if anything. And remind me to bring this up later, but Bones Highland's performance tonight did make me think about something that we've talked about kind of all season. And then I don't know that I'm just going to get into it
What do
now.
you mean later?
I was gonna like finish this line of thought, but I think this is
Okay.
worth
Yeah.
deviating for. I've been thinking about it kind of since the Spurs game. I mean, all season, but that really, we still don't have an enforcer,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
No, I've
when,
brought it up a number of
like,
times this year. Yeah.
yeah, we keep talking about it, and I'm still waiting. Like, because I texted you watching the game, like, Bones Highland is Marcus Smart like in the sense of like, if that dude is on the other team, you're like, fuck that guy. But if he's on your team, you're like, I love him and I would do anything for him.
I kind of love Bones Highland. Like,
Yeah,
even though he killed us
I was
tonight.
I was low key like, hey, can we get Bones Highland? But just
We
like the
could have
energy
at
and
many
the
points.
attitude, I loved. And Hugo Gonzalez is my young Spanish son, and I will defend his honor all day. It was absolutely hysterical when Hugo fouled Bones, and he was just like, "You did that." Yeah. So I'm still waiting for like
So do you think that
we
if
need
we
more
had
of
an
a spark.
enforcer, do you think if we had an enforcer, they would have like knocked Bones Highland out of the air? Like you wanted like a
No,
couple hard fouls on him?
no, I
I
don't
just
even
don't
know
know what an
like
enforcer would have done at that moment.
I don't even know if enforcer is the right term. Like, there have been moments where I'm like, hey, who's going to stand up for Jaylen Brown when the other team is kicking the shit out of him in the air and the refs aren't doing anything? But I think what I'm looking for is more like, who is the spirit of this team right now? Like, in years past, during the Isaiah era, like Isaiah was the spirit of the team. He was like, yeah, I'm little and undersized and you're gonna like value me or you're not gonna give me the respect I deserve, but fuck you, I'm gonna be the king of the fourth anyway. And then Marcus Smart for nearly a decade was like, yeah, I'm gonna play my heart out, I'm gonna get loud, I'm gonna get in your face, and I'm gonna back it up with all these hustle plays. Right now I'm like, the
It's Jaylen
identity of
Brown
this
right
team.
now.
Yeah, and that isn't ideal. Like we've talked before of like you want to have guys around your superstars who are gonna be able to like carry some of that identity load so that the superstars can carry the scoring load or the defensive load. And so I'm just still waiting to like figure out who's gonna be the guy who like gets us going. Like Jaylen Brown will occasionally he'll hit a shot and he'll like tell TD Garden like get loud and but we need a guy who's like that every single night, who's respectfully or disrespect like I want somebody on our team to taunt other players when they get an and one. Like we get hyped after an and one and like Jalen might flex or something, but I want someone who will put a finger in the other team's face and go, ha ha, I got your ass. And right now we don't have that guy, and I kind of want it.
I think the closest guy we have to like somebody should just like add a little bit of, because this is, I watched Bones Highland's post game interview tonight, and he said that like when he enters a game, he focuses on bringing swag.
We
And
need
he
a
tries
swag
to
guy.
get the team's swag going, is what he does.
We need a soldier boy on the Celtics.
I think the closest thing we have is Baylor Shireman.
That's
But
crazy.
I think Baylor, it's a different sort of swag, but
Yeah.
like he plays with attitude, he plays with force. He's trying every second he's out there. And I think no dip threes, he's thumbs up celebration. He's got like a little bit, he's got some swag to him.
So here's the thing. I think there's a difference between playing with a little bit of swagger, playing with that like energy, that edge, that attitude, and being the guy on the court who's giving the other team that energy, that attitude. Like that's where I'm like, I laughed because I was like, Baylor Shireman is not getting in somebody's face and taunting. Like I
No,
find that difficult to see. But
well, I
like,
think it's two different things. I think we're getting real deep into nonsense here, but I think your swag guy
this
and
is
your
not
enforcer
this is
are two different
this is
positions.
crucial cultural stuff on any NBA team.
No, but I think I've said it before that I think like there is a need for kind of a Bobby Portis, Marcus Smart type enforcer on this team,
I want a
just
shit
to save
talker.
Jalen from tax.
Yeah.
But then I think there's also that like energy off the bench, kind of associated with the sixth man, but like a guy who comes in off the bench and just like tries to bring as much energy to the team as he can.
Yeah.
Right now, that guy for us is Baylor Shireman, where as soon as the team's starting to like dip a little bit, it's been Ugo in some games, but for the most part, it's been Baylor, where like they come in end of the first quarter, we're starting to hit a lull, and they'll just like kind of spark guys, and we'll play with like a little bit more attitude when they come in.
Yeah, so here's I'm gonna add a third hot take to this episode.
You get 3 today.
I get 3
Crazy.
today. Peyton Pritchard needs to be less professional. This is my hot take. I want Peyton Pritchard, like, he's carried himself all season, and for the majority of the season, he was a starting point guard in the NBA. He fought for that role. He earned it. He won Sixth Man of the Year last year. Like, and he's been a huge contributor to a very successful team this year. I want him coming off the bench to be an asshole. Like, I want Peyton Pritchard to be hitting guys with the too little after every single shot. I want him doing like the Russell Westbrook rock the baby. Like, I want Peyton Pritchard to be the biggest shit talker on our team because I think he is that guy where, again, you've got energy guys like Ugo and Shireman who, like, their energy shows up and their hustle translates on the basketball court. When I think about, like, who's going to, like, get in somebody's face, talk shit, and be able to back it up immediately, who's not one of our, like, superstars who we need to be focused on, like, doing the thing for the team. Peyton Pritchard can do both of those things where like he can pop for 20, 25 points any given night. But I also think like it is just objectively hysterical if our shit talker for the team is a 6'1" white dude who just like comes in and hucks buzzer beaters every game.
Are we going for the funniest outcome? I also want to point out that you want more celebrations.
So this is part of it.
You want more celebrations. You want more attitude, but you immediately shut down my Nikola Vucevic middle finger celebration idea, which I think would
I didn't
bring
shut it down. I
everything.
said we would get fined for it a lot. I've been thinking about it ever since. I'm like, maybe you do the 3 thing, but just kiss the middle finger and just kind of, I don't know. There's options there.
There's ways around it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Adam Silver again. What an understanding guy. He'll be fine with it.
I think if he comes back with a brace on the middle finger,
I was gonna say if he has a splint on it, he's allowed to do that all he
then
wants.
He can flip the coach off like right to his face after every 3.
Yeah. I just want. It doesn't feel like this Celtics team has had a defined play style that has been like grit, defense, hustle, all of the things that like exemplify Celtics basketball, but I don't feel like they have a personality just yet.
I think Joe Mazzulla's provided a lot of the personality for this team. I think the personality is just also a lot more relaxed. And I think you saw Bones Highland and you were like, it would be fun to have Bones Highland on my team.
I think that's kind of what it was. Of
And
like,
here's the thing, some nights it is fun to have Bones Highland on your team, but as the Clippers and Nuggets fan bases will tell you, some nights it's not. Some nights it's not fun. This
Here's the
night,
thing.
it's a blast.
I
but
bet even when he doesn't play well, it's more fun to have him on the team than not.
you'd have to ask them. But, like, there's a reason teams have moved on from him. Great scorer, not always the best, like, playoff defender.
Yeah, but we don't need more good players right now. We have a ton of good players. We need we need a vibes guy.
I don't even know what we're doing here.
Yeah, I think this Minnesota loss kind of broke us in a certain way. I think we got off on the right track of like, what do we need for the playoffs? What does our offensive schemes look like? Again, I thought our defense wasn't terrible in this game. Really, what we were missing was vibes and also a fucking bucket in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the mistakes in this game, like always, would get plastered over with better shooting.
Yeah.
I do think it might start to be time to consider starting Baylor over Sam Hauser. I think Sam's has been better coming off the bench, and I think Baylor just kind of fits better with this group where he can find ways to impact even when he's off ball through, rebounding, cutting, and off ball movement around the three. Not that like there's a huge difference between the two of them. You want to talk standings for a sec? Because I think we're going into an interesting stretch here. We're still second in the East. After this game, we are 4.5 games back from the first seed. I don't think we're going to catch the Pistons.
I agree.
There was a split moment where it seemed like we could. Unfortunately, Cade Cunningham has punctured a lung and will be out an unknown amount of time. Average is about 3.5 weeks for punctured lungs. It all really depends on like how punctured your lung is, how big the hole is, how long it's going to take you to heal. Knicks are only half a game back from us. They've won 6 games.
In a row. Not all season. I wish.
Yes. No, not if they're half game back from us. But how our schedule over the next few weeks, we've kind of run out of the tanking teams in this league. We're going up against all playoff teams almost till the end of the year. How confident are you that we're going to keep that second seed?
I would say I give us a 60% chance of holding on to the 2 seed, and that might be optimistic. I think New York's got an easier schedule than us coming up. We're playing a lot of teams who, again, are going to either be in the playoffs or right now are fighting for play-in positioning. Like, we've got the Hornets coming up. We've got the Hawks coming up. In addition to powerhouses, like we're playing the Thunder this week. Like, we've just got tough teams in front of us. I think if we had won tonight's game with Cade Cunningham going down, which is a huge shame with the season he's been having, and I hope he gets back to the floor soon.
I hope we still get that Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Because I've just been hoping for that all year. Like 7 games between a healthy Pistons, healthy Celtics would be amazing.
But I think like having them in front of us and having the 1 seed feel more achievable than it does right now after this loss. Like if we had won that game, we're 3.5 games back with like 12 to play. I think that would have been good motivation. I think now it's like it feels like the rest of the season is we're going to fight to hold on to the 2 seed. The Knicks are rolling a little bit right now. Mikal Bridges still isn't playing very well, who's such a big part of that team last playoffs and throughout the season. I don't know. I don't really believe in the Knicks, but I think they're a good regular season team. They have the talent to be a great playoff team. I just don't buy it necessarily.
Yeah, because I think the main thing keeping the 2 seed does for us is it helps Jalen's case for all NBA first team.
If he's not on all NBA, especially if Cade is missing the rest of the regular season or something close to it, he might be ineligible.
He might be. I think there's a lot of guys kind of in that space right now.
Yeah,
like
the game's
if Cade
played
comes
is
back, he's
awful.
at 62, I think. So if he comes back the last week and plays 3 games, he'll be eligible. I like Jalen making first team all NBA. I think that would be awesome, especially as kind of a celebration of the year he's had. I don't know how much it actually matters for this team in the playoffs. Over the last 3 years, we've been a better road team than we have a home team. This year, we're slightly better at home than we are on the road. The matchups really wouldn't change that much. I'm not that worried about the first round matchups for the third or second seed. The difference would be like Philly or the Heat. Both teams I'm not that worried about. And then it would still be the Knicks in the second round. Home court would be nice, but I don't see it as like a total disaster if we fall back another half game and the Knicks get this 2 seed.
Yeah. No, and I think, again, they're on a 6-game winning streak. I think the thing that has been a little bit of a differentiator between the two teams all season, and kind of why I don't buy the Knicks as like a playoff, like I don't see them coming out of the East, like I just don't see it, is the Celtics have been very stable all year. Where like we lost our first 3 games, and since then, like it's been rare that we lose 2 in a row. Whereas the Knicks have been a roller coaster all season. Like right now they're on a 6-game win streak. Like it wasn't that long ago that they could lose 6 games in a row and everybody's like, the Knicks are nicking again. So they have like very high highs and very low lows, which again, in a playoff series, you catch a low at the wrong moment and it lasts 3 or 4 games and you're out. Like that's it. So right now they're, riding a hot hand and they could continue to do that. Do they do it for the rest of the season? I don't know. They're playing worse teams than we are. So again, I think there's every chance they catch us and grab the 2 seed, and I don't think that's the end of the world by any means. As someone who's still like petty about them taking us out of the playoffs last season, do I want to do that and keep the 2 seed and wave it over their heads? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it matters a tremendous deal. I've always said like the Cleveland scares me more than the Knicks do in the East by far.
How would you rank the 3 other teams? Because I think when you talk about threats in the East, it's really Cleveland, Detroit, and New York. I know NBC Boston put up a poll before the Grizzlies game where they polled Celtics fans on who is the biggest threat to win the East. 70% said the Knicks. I can see an argument for the Cavs. I would still have the Pistons. I just think if Cade's coming back and if he can get to the level he was playing at before, then they have been the best team in the East all year. They've played both us and the Knicks very well. They have a ton of size and a ton of physicality. I just don't see an argument why they wouldn't be the biggest threat.
For me, I think I have the Cavs as the biggest. I think the Cavs are just a more complete team. I think
you just really trust James Harden
in the playoffs. Absolutely not. I want the Cavs in the playoffs because I know James Harden is going to go 4 for 11 in a game 7.
Yeah, I'm saying to win the East.
Yeah,
who's the biggest threat?
I still pick the Cavs despite James Harden and his playoff performances. Because I think they have versatility at all their positions. I think Evan Mobley's a rock star. Donovan Mitchell is up there in terms of like players this season. He's been phenomenal. But I think they have what Detroit doesn't, which is shooting at almost every position and the ability to play make through more than one guy. I think Detroit's whole thing, and you're like, yeah, if Cade comes back healthy and is right back into it, Detroit has been the best team all season. But it's been the Cade show. Like, not taking away from any of the other guys, Jalen Duren has been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to watching his career. But outside of Cade, like, who else is making a shot, and who else can pass the ball and create a shot for others? And on that Pistons team, it's not a whole lot.
Well, I think the argument would be, like, Cade has missed some time this year. I believe they're 12-3 with him out. They are really well coached. Like, the reason they win those games isn't necessarily because, like, Karis LeVert's probably their next best ball handler. And, I mean, Karis LeVert's good, but it's because they all show up and they all play disciplined basketball. They all play defense and they all move the ball. So it's not that, like, they have a second, like, great facilitator, and yeah, without Cade they're not making it far in the playoffs, but I don't think it's like a huge weakness to not have a second kind of high points per game guy on your team when everybody on your team is gonna play well night to night.
Yeah, I don't even think it's about having like a high points per game guy as much as like for me it's like who else is passing the ball. Like, who else is setting up the offense? Who's running the plays? Again, if you, in a vacuum, were like, all right, X team has the best record in the East, their second best playmaker with the ball in their hands, their second best passer, their second best guy to set up and run the offense is Karis LeVert. Are they making it out of the East? I'd be like, that's a tough sell. So
Asar
yeah,
Thompson might be their best passer, but yeah, I get the point.
yeah. And again, this is no disrespect to Detroit. I think they
Yeah.
have been the best team in the East all year. I think Cade Cunningham has a valid MVP argument, and I hope that he's back sooner rather than later. I hate this 65 game rule. I want to see him get all the awards that he deserves for this year. But in my mind, I also think I like.
With the Cavs, my difficulty believing in them is a lot of their perimeter defense, where
You're telling me
James
James
Harden,
Harden doesn't guard on the perimeter?
he is almost one of their better perimeter guys.
Scary.
You can hide him on a bigger wing, and he does hold up pretty well. Like we saw him guard Jason Tatum when they went up against each other. I hope that can't hold up in a playoff series once Jason Tatum's 100%. But Donovan Mitchell's not a great perimeter defender. And when you have him and James Harden out there, and they don't really have the personnel to kind of make up for those. Like they have some good rim protection, but they don't really have like a perimeter stopper on that team who's going to come in and guard the other team's best player. And I think once you end up in a playoff series versus a team that's like super ISO heavy, like the Knicks or the Celtics, or even like a guy to guard Cade, I think that's going to be an issue for him down the stretch.
Yeah. I mean, I think I am trying to consider, like, from not trying to be like a Celtics homer or something, but I'm trying to think about who is the most complete team in the East, especially at the top of that playoff picture. And Detroit's lack of shooting, especially, and lack of playmaking worries me a lot. Cleveland's lack of defense, New York's lack of consistency, the Celtics' lack of an offensive strategy night to night. I think every team has its holes. I think at the end of the day, I would rank the Cavs higher talent wise than Detroit. On a pure talent level, it's also like the Knicks on paper should probably be coming out of the East. But again, they've had issues meshing at different, like, 10 different points this season. And unless it's going to be like the Jalen Brunson show, unless Mikal Bridges finds his way back to life and Josh Hart does Josh Hart things, Josh Hart would be fun on the Celtics team. Just thinking about like a Bones Highland guy. But
So we're just
I
not
think
considering the Raptors like at all. We're just gonna. I'm joking. No, I think the
you
Knicks.
really had me for a second. And I love me some Scotty Barnes, but
No, the Knicks, like they have the most high level talent at every position of these teams, and you can make like a good argument against every other team that like the Celtics don't have a lot of big man depth. The Cavs don't have a great defender. The Pistons lack like secondary ball handling. Like they all have kind of
shooting
these
is
shooting.
also, yeah.
They have these kind of glaring holes where the Knicks, you can say like every position they have at least two guys who are good starter level guys at that position. And we've seen it come together for like stretches here and there, but not like long enough to really believe in them. And I think their hole is just that their two best players are Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Where when you get in a playoff series, you're going to have their guys run pick and roll a bunch of times. And the Celtics weren't able to capitalize on that. The Pacers were, and we've seen other teams be able to do that. And the Knicks kind of need to prove that they can get over that hump.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't want to, again, we're not reading too much into one loss against Minnesota on a Sunday night.
We definitely are. We definitely are doing that.
I'm more nervous about the
We've
playoffs after that game than I was before it. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean, we've got some really good games coming up. I'm looking forward to, I would almost feel worse if we were going up against like tanking teams for the last few games of the season. I want us to get like let's get battle tested. Let's have Jason play meaningful minutes in close games and like experiment with, all right, Jason plus bench. Jason, you take the offense right now. Again, I think the talk about Jason and Jalen and when Jason came back, how is he gonna like intertwine with the offense and how is he gonna just like reintegrate himself? All of that was overblown in the sense that Jason Tatum came back and was Jason Tatum and nobody has had any issues with it. But I don't think we've figured out exactly what our playoff offense looks like yet. So I think, playing OKC on Wednesday is going to be a good test of like, that's a potential finals opponent if we make it that far. What is our game plan for that? So I'm going to be looking at that game. We're playing some teams that, like, Charlotte has been incredibly scrappy, and since the new year, they've been putting together some great runs. Their advanced stats are good. Same with Atlanta. Yeah. Like, we're playing some good teams that I think will help shape us in ways that beating up on the Wizards and the Nets and everybody else may not have like fully prepared us for. And as much fun as those games were, it's going to be more nerve-wracking, but I'm looking forward to some more serious competition coming up.
Do you want to close on a prediction?
Yeah.
For those games?
Celtics in 6.
I don't even know what that means.
Every playoff series, Celtics in 6.
I meant for the next few games.
Oh yeah, we'll do that too.
Like we always do.
Celtics by 6.
Celtics by 6. I hoped after the Grizzlies game that kind of their poor performance in the first 3 quarters would like light a fire under them and have them play well against the Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And I am slightly hopeful right now that the loss to the Wolves will like light a fire under them and they'll play really well against the Thunder. My actual prediction is I think we lose to the Thunder, but that loss lights a fire under them and then we play really well the rest of the way.
Okay, I like that. Jalen Williams still isn't back for the Thunder, right?
He is not, I don't believe.
I think we lost the first game to the Thunder. I think we pull this one out by 3 or 4 points because in my mind, I don't know if this will get posted on social media, but I think Jaylen Brown is going to pull Hugo Gonzalez aside, probably tonight. Maybe it already happened. And he's going to show him that video of Bones Highland pointing at him from the floor saying, "You fouled me." And I think Hugo Gonzalez is having his own "the energy is about to shift" moment right now. And I think that's going to inspire him. No, I mean, I think looking at the film on this game, again, the fourth quarter, like, if half of those shots go in, it's a very close game. It probably plays out like we might still lose, but I think the shots we take and everything goes a little bit differently. But I think in general, coming off of, again, we should have destroyed Memphis, and that was a close game, and Derek White and Luka Garza kind of bailed us out. I'm also optimistic that they're viewing this stretch and the games that have just happened, again, losing that close one to OKC just a while ago, and I want that fire. That's also kind of where I'm like, we need a vibes guy to be like, somebody needs to start yelling in the locker room. I think you made a good point when you were like, we're a very relaxed team this year. Like, we play with a lot of hustle, a lot of energy and everything like that, but the general vibe is relaxed, which is crazy for a Joe Mazzulla team. I think it's time to, like, get back in the practice gym and start listening to war sounds again.
I think if we weren't relaxed, somebody might have tried to fight Joe already. And maybe it's a perfect harmony. You don't know.
That guy is a jiu-jitsu master. You better not. It's not a fight you're winning.
We can cut it there. Thank you all for listening. Like and subscribe. It does help the pod. And see y'all next time.